Oh god. Oh wow, we can't go live on Twitch. They don't like the title.
Oh, Twitch, come on.
Oh, it's the
The big G.
genocide.
The big
Um,
G.
hmm. Is okay, guys. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, but Twitch doesn't like the title. So the title, so that they didn't go let us go live on Twitch. So the title was "Is Biden soft on China and the Uyghur?" There's so many different ways to say it. Genocide. So I think that it's the genocide that they don't like.
Just a guess.
Just a guess. What do we say? Is Biden soft on China? How about that?
Yeah, just keep it like that.
Is Biden soft on China? Save changes.
China.
Let's see, China. Let's see if
I
Twitch
think that
allows.
might just
Oh
be
yeah,
that
we're guys.
people-
No, let me just tell the Twitch people we are live on Twitch as well. Hi, Twitch people. We were live on YouTube and Facebook before we went live on Twitch because Twitch didn't like the title. If you're wondering what was the title that we had to change for Twitch, just hop over to YouTube and look at what the title is. Apparently, I don't think we should be able to say. We should say it. Wait, does that mean now that we're live on Twitch, we can't even say that word? I think we could say it.
No. It's just the title.
It's just title. Genocide.
Oh my god!
What? I wanted to see like if Twitch is gonna kick us out now. Like, how is this so dumb? Like, these are important topics. Like, what Twitch doesn't want us to talk about genocide. So how do we? Isn't this an important topic? So, like, what does Twitch think? Like, if we're like covering genocide, that means we're pro genocide. I'm saying genocide a bit too much. I think.
Yeah, and if we lose our Twitch, I'm the one who has to get it back.
But we're saying again, we're talking against the Twitch. Like, I know, it's so stupid.
I swear to God.
My God.
Oh well, great.
Oh look, Ghostbunny saying Armin testing. Oh, we got a new member. Wait. Greg is a new member. Thank you so much, Greg.
Almost like 12 hours ago, according to this.
Oh yeah. So Greg is probably not here.
Well, thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Armin's testing the waters here. Susanna is done, and the stream hasn't used. Oh my God.
Oh wow. So I was on Twitch. Guys, go on Twitch if you want to use our emotes.
Yeah. This is a good reminder that we are on Twitch. Yeah. Cool. So what are we talking about?
So we are going to be talking about some of the controversy that Biden or various members of his administration or designates have statements they've made about China, specifically the Uyghur genocide situation in China. Because, I mean, there's a lot to get into with China, right? Is Biden too soft on China? I think is too broad of a question already. So we're going to be specifically focusing about this one human rights issue. Obviously, there are numerous human rights issues in China. But we're going to be focusing on this one. So wait, let me share my screen. Oops. Okay, here we go. So, to begin, all the articles that we're going to be reviewing today were written by Jimmy Quinn at the National Review. So
okay, we're sure about this guy. There's one guy. I don't know who this guy. I forgot what his name is. I should probably know this. But there's a guy that is very shady, and he is anti-China, and is trying to is highlighting the stuff coming from about the human rights violations from Xinjiang. How do you say Xinjiang? And he's I'm really bad with remembering names, and I wanted to remember that guy's name, and I forgot because we shouldn't use that guy as a source, even though he is highlighting. I don't know. Do you know who I'm talking about? I have to go find it.
That's way too vague.
Okay, he's really like a racist person, and a lot of people are sort of using him as a source. And I should figure out who this guy is, because there are a lot of credible reports coming from China that shows that there's human rights violations happening, but that guy ain't it. I have to find out who this guy is because he's been used. People keep linking to him, and they should stop. Anyways, I'll figure that out later. But go on.
Well, okay, so here's the deal. This guy isn't a source. He's more of an analyst.
Okay. I hope it's not this guy.
I read what he wrote for the National Review, and I liked his analysis on a lot of these issues. Because it's, I mean, at least the articles that I wrote are not about evidences for this. It's just about his analysis of the Biden administration's reactions. So
Adam is saying, how are you going to work for Mossad if you can't remember stuff? Hey, because of my analysis, okay? I don't have to remember names to be able to have good analysis. God damn it. All right, go on.
Adam has a good point, though.
Shh.
Okay, so anyways, I just wanted to start with giving credit to Jimmy. Well, I think we should start with this video that caused some recent controversy, and then we can kind of backtrack and give more context. So this happened. Oops, here we go. So this happened on the 16th, and this was the town hall that Biden was giving on CNN, and this is how he responded to a question by Anderson Cooper.
You know, Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, to vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China and Taiwan, trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms that each country and their leaders are expected to follow.
That was horrible.
Yeah, so granted, this was the easiest clip that I was able to find from this, and this is from a channel called GOP War Room. So
what was it? Okay, so I saw that clip before, and I was like, what are you talking about? Is there a fuller version of this so that we're not taking him out of context? Because that is, like, it cannot be. By the way, I'm sure there's some idiots that are going to be like, we told you about, like, Biden's going to do this. We expected Biden is going to be weak on China, okay? Mm-hmm. And we said that we know this, we said it before that when he is weak on China, we're going to come and call him out. And some people are going to say, like, oh, we told you. You're like, yeah, we knew it, okay? He's so far doing good with Saudi Arabia and tough on Iran, so we like that. But with China, this was horrible. Go on, what do you want to say?
I found a clip that was 3 minutes long.
Yeah, please, because I want to make sure that we're not taking him out of context, because I don't know what context makes that okay. That's like cultural relativism, like in the worst kind of cultural relativism, like excusing the worst one of some of the. You're not sharing your screen. Excusing probably the second worst human rights violation of our time after Yemen, I think. Actually, I don't know. North Korea is up there as well right now. Anyways, one of the worst human rights violations of our time is being excused by this is their culture. Are you God? Are you? It's hard not to swear right now. Are you serious? Right? Are you? It's big. Susie, am I misrepresenting him right now? What did he just say? That's their culture.
I think it's okay. So if you listen, well, I found this longer clip, but if we just take what was in that one, he was saying if you look at China's history, and he even said this is vastly oversimplified. He was saying that there is a precedent within their understanding of foreign policy that a divided China is a weak China that is open to foreign threat. So he's oversimplifying this premise. This is me trying to discern what his ham-fisted way of trying to explain the situation. Okay, this is not me justifying what he said.
There is no justifying.
I think what he means to say is that so they have this precedent within their history. This is their understanding of how to have good foreign policy. That leads them to the conclusion that they must have a unified China. And
therefore genocide. That leads to genocide. Cultural genocide. Let's be clear.
They have a long history of cultural genocide. That's established, right?
I know,
I don't know why we don't talk about that as much as we do.
But we're talking about what's happening right now. Okay?
No, I know. And actually, that was a criticism from a lot of Uyghur activists was that they're like, people were talking about Uyghur cultural genocide for a really long time. But it wasn't until recent data came out showing the dropping birth rates and the actual documents that show that they are mass sterilizing people that had actually met the criteria of a genocide when they had been saying so for a long time.
Okay, here's the thing. I know there's a lot of legal battles right now, between different countries on what's the definition of genocide and what's not the definition of genocide. I don't know the technicalities and the semantics behind that. So whether this is genocide, or cultural genocide, I let the legal experts decide that. I know, like, United States decided that this is genocide, and Canada Trudeau came out and we're like, well, technically, it's not. Like, we're like looking into whether we want to call this genocide or not, because we don't want to just call anything a genocide, or else the accusation of genocide is not going to have the force that it has, right? So
Canada changed its stance recently.
Okay, that was like 2 weeks ago. Like 1 week ago. Did they just agree that it's a genocide now? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm just okay. So Canada also agrees that it's genocide. But this is something that both the Trump administration and the Biden administration, I think there are people within both of them that agree that this is genocide, right? But for me, from a utilitarian perspective, something doesn't have to be genocide for it to be an extreme, like a human rights violation to the level that it could be as harmful as genocide. Do you know what I mean?
No, of course not. But genocide is a specific designation.
Yeah, and it has a lot of legal consequences, and it comes with a lot of more worldwide international reaction to it if something is a genocide, whether it's not a genocide. I don't know if that's justified, because something could be very, 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 very harmful, even though it's technically not a genocide. For example,
there is the category of crimes against humanity, which is its own designation, but it's a broader term. Right.
Like for example, what's happening to people in Yemen, that is not genocide, but it is the greatest human rights violation of our lifetime right now, as we're speaking. Okay, so I don't know. I even if it's not genocide, maybe for pragmatic reasons, I hope that it gets labeled as a genocide, so that there's some bigger reaction to it internationally. You know what I mean? Like, for practical reasons. If that's what it takes for the whole world to take a stronger action against China for what they're doing, then just somebody, like, I hope the legal experts decide that this is a genocide, But that doesn't really matter. Like, can you play let's go back to what Biden said, because I don't know. This doesn't seem like an explanation. It sounded like a justification. Okay, and if it was an explanation, the fact that it sounded like a justification means you should just shut. Like fuck you. Like seriously. Like, you know what? Fuck the YouTube algorithm and fuck Biden for this. I will support all these other things that he's doing. Okay, and I still think he's by far better than Trump and on almost everything. Okay, but on this, the Trump administration was better, not for the right reasons, but they were better. Okay, I mean, on almost everything so far, Biden is better. Okay, like don't think like this is like a pro-Trump, anti-Biden. No, okay, but we said we're not gonna take a side. We're gonna call it. We're gonna be like, when we see something we're gonna be like, yep, good job, Biden. And this is the worst take. Like, you couldn't come up with a worse take than for Biden to say. Like, this was excusing. Okay, on Corona, Biden is better. On Iran, I think Biden is better. On Saudi Arabia, Biden is better. On so many things, Biden is. On international relationship, Biden is better. On normalizing, okay, that's aside. Okay, so if you think like we're like an anti Democrat channel or something like that, we're not. Okay, we preferred Biden over Trump, but on this, fuck him. Like, really, seriously, fuck what he like. This is the worst take that he could have had. Like, he could have, even if he didn't do something, we would just come here and criticize him. Like, even if he didn't take a tough stand against China, we would come in like, okay, Biden, Biden administration is too weak on China, and they're just letting human rights violations go by, right? But he did he did worse than that. He's like actually saying things that is close to, not close, as actual justification. Am I like listening to this wrong? Let's listen to the like a big longer clip. Like, you have it ready. I can see.
Well,
down there.
I don't think it was a justification. Again, this is me trying to steelman this just a little bit. I don't think it was a justification so much as like, this is their perspective. But
my god, the live chat is going insane. Okay, this is why. Okay, go on. Let's show. Like it. I'm not even gonna highlight what Gregory is saying. Right? Gregory, you're insane. But let's go.
So this is a clip from CNN called "Biden Reveals Conversation with Chinese President on Human Rights." So I'm not sure if this contains what we watched earlier or is different content, but we'll find out.
Saying because that Biden didn't talk about the fact that how immoral it was, and it was women running against the Republican ticket led by Mitt Romney, a fine guy.
You just talked to China's president.
Yes, for 2 hours.
What about the Uyghurs? What about human rights abuses?
We must speak up for human rights. It's who we are. We can't. My comment to him was, and I know him well, and he knows me well. We're a 2-hour conversation.
You talked about this to him.
I talked about this too. And that's not so much refugee, but I talked about it. I said, look, Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow. But my point was that when I came back from meeting with him and traveling 17,000 miles with him when I was vice president, he was the vice president. That's how I got to know him so well, at the request of President Hu, not a joke, his predecessor, President Hu, and President Obama wanted us to get to know one another because he was going to be the president. And I came back and said they're going to end their one child policy because they're so xenophobic they won't let anybody else in, and more people are retired than working. How can they sustain economic growth when more people are retired?
When you talk to him, though, about human rights abuses, is that as far as it goes in terms of the U.S., or is there any actual repercussions for China?
Well, there will be repercussions for China, and he knows that. What I'm doing is making clear that we, in fact, are going to continue to reassert our role as spokespersons for human rights at the UN and other agencies that have an impact on their attitude. China is trying very hard to become the world leader. And to get that moniker and to be able to do that, they have to gain the confidence of other countries. And as long as they're engaged in activity that is contrary to basic human rights, it's going to be hard for them to do that. But it's much more complicated than that. I shouldn't try to talk China policy in 10 minutes on television here.
Oh my God. This was
Clearly not Joe.
all right. So he did bring it up as something that the United States is against, while apologizing for bringing it up. He was like, "Look, I have to bring this up. I have no choice." Like, that's what he did. That's what he said. He said, he went like, "Okay, you know what? As an American president, it's our culture that we're supposed to care about human rights. Okay, I have to put on a show." That's what he said. So he basically signaled to him that this is just talk that I'm supposed to do. And you know what I mean? He said, like, listen, I told him that as it's our culture, as an American president, I'm supposed to talk about human rights stuff, and I'm supposed to tell you that you've been a naughty boy, right? I'm supposed to tell you that. So it's kind of like a signal to him that my hands are tied. I know, like, you guys get butthurt over everybody talking about you guys like internal affairs. You got no meddling. This is our country. We get to commit human rights violations as much as we want. Mind your own business. You guys like lose your mind every time anybody tells you that you're oppressing your people and you're horrible garbage human beings and you should cut it out, right? I know you guys like get butthurt over this every time, but I'm sorry. The people back home, they're like, we're Americans. We apparently supposed to care about human rights. So I'm forced to forgive me for having to tell you. And like, oh, he gets it. He said he gets it. He gets it. He like, okay, give me your spiel. Like, get it out of your system so we could get down to business. Tell me, fine. Yes. You're supposed to. You're American. You're supposed to care about human rights. So your hands are tied. Let's get it over with so we could talk about some serious stuff after. That's what it sounded like. Did that not sound like that to you? That's what it sounded like to me. And then he goes in this culture bullcrap.
I think talking about his past friendship and history with Xi Jinping was not a good move at all. I don't think that I think it wasn't quite as much as just, it's our culture to do this, so I have to do this. You know, like this administration has shown a strong commitment to taking harsh actions on behalf of human rights within like the first 3 weeks of its administration, this presidency. Right. So I do think action will come, but we have to be honest in the fact that we do have to deal with China.
What do you mean?
Like, it's not as simple as just, as much as I would like it to be, just cutting China out of everything. We can't.
No, nobody thinks
we
that.
can't cut China out of everything.
Yeah,
So
I know that.
how do we do both? You know?
No, nobody thinks that. No, yeah, nobody thinks that United States can cut China out of everything. That would be the end of everything.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but being tough on China for their human rights violations can come in so many different ways.
Mhm.
So many different ways. There's so many possibilities, right? But he doesn't even discuss the fact that there's going to be consequences until Anderson Cooper pushed. First of all, he keeps talking about some random, he talks about, he starts answering your question for like 30 seconds. No, not even 5 seconds. Until then something else, he just goes into a different direction and something else comes up, right? Very Trump-like on that. But then Anderson is like, okay, you brought it up. Is there going to be any pushback? Like, are there going to be any consequences? Are there going to be like that should have been. I'm glad that Anderson Cooper pushed him on that, but he could have at least been like, he should have said that. He should have said he should have said we brought it up, and by the way, it's not just talk. There are going to be consequences.
He did say that. He said that there will be repercussions, and she knew
after Anderson Cooper pushed him on that, right? Here's what he could say. He could have said that there will be consequences, and we're not sure what yet. But obviously, there's going to be consequences. We're going to figure out. We're not going to do a trade war like Trump did. That doesn't help anyone. In fact, that kind of helped China, as we saw. But we have to figure it. There has to be. Here's what I would say. There has to be consequences. What are those consequences? I don't know. This is complicated, okay? And guess what? I'm going to talk to our allies, all right? And I'm going to bring all our allies together, right? I'm going to bring in Canada, European countries, and we're going to have to figure this out. There needs to be consequences. But we're going to, first of all, this one thing I like is that with Biden's administration, the international relations with United States allies is going to become stronger. So United States is going to be in a better position to have consequences that make sense. Okay, not anything like the idiot Trump did, but something that makes sense. And yeah, I know it's not as simple as cutting all ties with China. Nobody's people are suggesting that, but nobody's saying is suggesting that. Okay, I know it's difficult. But don't be like, listen, I have to say this. And basically, his entire reaction to one of the greatest human rights violations on China was yeah, I brought it up. Yeah, I brought it up. I mean, look at what's, at least with Saudi Arabia, right? At least with Saudi Arabia, look, it's possible. Yes, it's complicated. Can a lot of idiots think United States can completely abandon one of its major allies in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, and be like, oh, we're gonna bye Saudi Arabia. You can't do that, okay? But look, they were very, when it comes to Saudi Arabia, they're like, we're not gonna sell you any offensive wars that you could use in Yemen. We're still going to protect you against any aggression that might be coming from the Houthis or the Islamic Republic, which some idiots think that the United States shouldn't even do that. Yeah, great job. That's very Trumpist. Completely abandon your allies. I know I hate Saudi Arabia, but this is not the way to do politics. They're
not the only bad guy in the region.
Yeah, and there needs to be a meaning. There needs to be a significance for you to be a United States ally. If that has no meaning at all, then who would want to be your ally, right? You can't completely abandon them against any form of aggression, right? And if you don't have allies, people are oh, we should stop doing any form of intervention anywhere. Great. So bye-bye to all your allies and become defenseless. Like, people are dumb. Anyways, but when it comes to Saudi Arabia, there were some actions done, right? Like, they filed the Khashoggi report. Like, United States officially came out and be like, yeah, Ben Salman did it. There was Ben Salman.
They declassified that, and the State Department says that. What did they call it? Like a Khashoggi designation or something towards individuals. I'm gonna have to refresh my memory. But the State Department put forward their own designation related to that.
Is it okay? Let's say it's too soon for the Biden administration to figure out what the consequences to China will be going to be. Just just come out and say, like, there will be consequences. How about that? There will, like, we're not going to stand for this. This is horrible. We're going to work with China, and so we're going to still have, like, there's many things that we could be on the same side with China on. We're not going to do trade wars, but there will be consequences to this. There has to be consequences to this, and we're going to figure out what those consequences are going to be in partnership with our allies around the world. We're going to figure this out. Can't you at least do that? Like, can't you come out and say that? Is that too hard? Just be like, there will be significant consequences, because we're not. What happened to, like, never again, never forget, all that crap that nobody seems to care about, right?
Well, yeah, it's also various members of his administration have not helped the situation with putting forward a good image on how this administration or its designates are going to tackle this. So, for example, so if you guys remember, back in January, the Trump administration, in its last days, its State Department officially gave the designation of the Uyghur genocide as a genocide. Okay. And then there was this incident at the end of the month where Biden's appointee as ambassador to the United Nations said that the State Department didn't follow the procedure and that they were reviewing this designation. So this really alarmed people because in August, let me go backwards. In August, on the campaign, Biden's team and him said that this was a genocide. Okay. So then the State Department formally opened up an investigation in December. They made their designation in January. But so they were like, oh, wait, this is only like this December to January. That's too quick. Well, the State Department had been taking actions against China for this specific situation for over 2 years. Right. So the formal process was in December to January, but the actions had been ongoing for several years at that point. So this alarmed a lot of people. So this happened specifically where, so what's her name again? What's her first name? Linda Thomas Greenfield. So she was being questioned by Marco Rubio. And Tom Greenfield said, what they're doing there has been referred to as a genocide, and I know that the State Department is reviewing this as we speak. What they're doing is horrific, and I look forward to seeing the results of the review that's been done. Rubio said, the State Department issued a designation, I believe, on the president's last day. So is your understanding that it's now being reviewed by the State Department to see if that's appropriate? And then she said, I think the State Department is reviewing that now because all the procedures were not followed. And I think they're looking at that to make sure that they're followed to ensure that designation is held. Meanwhile, Kelly Currie, a former senior State Department official with direct knowledge of the process, said the process was followed and any claim otherwise is either uninformed or misleading. So there was that in the end of January, and that really alarmed a lot of people. So then in mid-February, the State Department comes forward and cleans up her what she said. So for the record, the Senate confirmed her as the ambassador to the UN last week. So, but this was all when she was still just a designate. So basically, the State Department came forward to say that there's lots of people who basically said that this review never happened and that this designation has still remained. Okay. But it was a really bad look. So
what was the result?
She said at the same time that this was horrific, but that she was waiting the results of the Biden administration review. So she was holding off on endorsing this policy determination while she claimed that it was under review. The latest State Department statement seems to refute Thomas Greenfield's claim that the Biden administration is reviewing former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's findings of crimes against humanity and genocide, and that her assertion that all of the procedures were not followed. So just as a reminder, Mike Pompeo's finding was not just genocide, it was also crimes against humanity, which is a separate designation. As Secretary Blinken and Ambassador Thomas Greenfield have made clear, genocide was committed against Uyghurs in Xinjiang, wrote the State Department spokesman on Thursday in response to National Review's questions. But the UN ambassador designate has never actually publicly retracted her claim that the State Department is reviewing the policy, and she has not made clear that she endorsed the genocide determination. For his part, Blinken made clear, so this is our current Secretary of State, is Blinken, made clear his view that crimes against humanity and genocide are both taking place during his confirmation hearing and in a press briefing that followed her comments. And Biden advocated such a determination during the campaign.
Okay, good.
And so, there was various back and forth. Are they reviewing it? Are they not? And that really set alarms on a lot of people because it's not going to help the appearance of your administration or people's fears that your administration are going to go easy on this regime if this is being echoed through multiple high-level ambassadors in your administration. And there was also some comments by his press secretary, Jen Psaki, that raised alarms, but she's had a number of gaffes, and I don't know what's going on with her. But again, coming from your press secretary, it's alarming to the public. So I thought that this was a pretty good article. It's called "Biden's Confusion on How to Talk About Genocide," and this came out on the 17th. A flubbed answer on communist China's concentration camps exposes the flaw in Biden's calls for cooperation with the regime. So here it just kind of recaps the video that we watched or the statements made. Many interpreted this as some kind of justification for the Chinese Communist Party's drive to wipe out Turkic minorities in Xinjiang. If that were true, the president's comment would fly in the face of what he had previously said about the plight of the Uyghur people. And in fact, Biden, who was as early as August called the Xinjiang crisis a genocide, so of note, that was before the Trump administration gave that official designation, ultimately told Cooper, quote, "There will be repercussions, and Xi knows that."
I'm so grateful that Anderson Cooper pushed them on that. Like he didn't that's it's so amazing how a simple clarification, like I don't know if these people understand, like these conversations that they're having on air, just asking the right questions or just saying that is going to have major effects on thousands of people. So anyways, but I wish he pushed it even harder, but it's fine. We're going. It's not fine.
Although it's possible that his cultural norm comments were some ham-fisted attempt at shielding Xi for criticism, it's more likely that the president had his foot in his mouth as he attempted to explain his obligation to speak out on human rights abuses. Still, the incident shed light on Biden administration's broader confusion when it comes to confronting Xi. If the president believes that the CCP is perpetrating a genocide, and White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki recently confirmed that he does, he should lead with a clear condemnation of the Chinese regime's mass atrocities, not recounting the time he spent getting to know the man responsible for the 21st century concentration camps as he did last night. He should be making the case for his conclusions about this barbarity, and the understanding of the regime's conduct should play a role in every decision he makes with regard to China policy.
Hmm.
The new team has taken drastic steps to put human rights first in foreign policy decision making. In the Gulf, so then here he just talks about human rights actions taken by the government so far, or this administration so far. So Saudi, UAE, and Yemen situation, and the military coup in Burma. But I'm not going to get into that. This human rights-oriented approach has also guided its engagement with China. Both Biden and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken raised Beijing's severe human rights abuses during their calls with their Chinese counterparts, and both consistently raised these concerns in their public speeches. On several occasions, Blinken has confirmed that he agrees with his predecessor's finding that Beijing is carrying out crimes against humanity and genocide against the Uyghurs. The administration has also made clear that the U.S. is in competition with China, even extreme competition, as Biden recently put it.
I like Blinken, by the way. It seems so far if he does something, but he seems like he was a good pick by the Biden administration. I like his positions on against Saudi Arabia. I like how they didn't bend the knee to, like, when it comes to the deal, when it comes to Iran. And I like what he's saying about China a lot more than what Biden's saying. I don't know. Maybe Biden is just too old to be able to talk about China. Maybe just let Blinken do everything and just stay back. I don't know. But Blinken seems to be, better. I think like he's doing everything right. At least seems like it. Like he's saying the right words. I don't know what's going to happen in the background. But go ahead.
Well, and the thing was, the impression I got when we were watching that clip earlier was like, he was just having really severe, like, mush mouth.
Yeah,
that's what I call it. It's just like the words weren't articulating well. It's so
he's too old to be president. But I'm glad that he picked Blinken because he's like, it's a good pick so far. What was I gonna say? Oh, by the way, if as much as I like how, I think it was a good thing that at the very end there was some, the Trump administration going out did some really stupid crap, but this one might have pushed a lot of countries. Like Canada is now being pressured to call this genocide, right? Like Trudeau was really under pressure, right? So this one thing by the Trump administration might have had a positive effect on taking China's human rights violation more seriously globally, because a lot of world leaders are now being asked, do you think this is genocide? Like, do you think this is genocide? Like, you're being asked, right? However, let me just be clear. The Trump administration had zero good intentions on this, right? If they care about human rights, they would be a lot tougher on Saudi Arabia, right? Like they
not
just
actively protect MBS.
They were not just protecting him; they participated in the human rights violations committed by Saudi Arabia, right? So it's just. I just wish people this is a childish way of thinking about things, but. It doesn't. Sometimes you feel like it doesn't. The human lives, it doesn't matter, right? The Trump administration is going to be more pro Saudi Arabia, more anti-China because for political and then now Biden administration is going to be more anti-Saudi Arabia. I mean, the Biden administration is less, polar like that compared to the Trump administration. So it's a lot better. But still, really, you have to, is it really that hard to be tough against such obvious human rights violations? These should be the easiest positions to take by any government. But I mean, I know the execution of it, okay, is going to be complicated. A lot of people think it's easy to just be cut all ties with Saudi Arabia, cut all ties with China. Yeah, sure. No, that's not going to work. It's a lot more, the execution of the consequences are very complicated, right? And there's a lot of give and take. But at least taking a stand, at least signaling to the world that something is happening, just making out the easiest part of the job is just making strong statements. as empty as that seems, and you could at least do that, making like the strongest statements that you possibly can against such obvious, like, these are things that future generations are going to look back on and be like, the same way that we look back at previous human rights violations and we're like, what the hell? How did people allow this, right? What's happening in Yemen, what's happening in North Korea, and what's happening in China, the people that are like, oh, let's stay away, no intervention at all. Like this, you guys are going to be remembered as the people who we remember previous generation of, like, how did the world just stood by and let this happen? You guys are one of those. That's how you're going to be remembered. The people that are like, oh, let's just wash our hands, like, oh, just like focus on home and do nothing. You guys are going to be the people that other future generations are going to look at and be like, they just let it happen. They just let it happen. Anyways.
Well, I think obviously making strong statements wherever possible is extremely important, but what's more important is actions. And we've yet to really see this administration take actions against China. So I'm going to be very curious to see when that comes. I mean, maybe they set the bar too high with coming after Saudi Arabia so quick. And so hard.
They're complaining about Saudi Arabia right now. They're like saying, why are you not sanctioning the MBS? Even after they came out and they like declassified something something that is creating so much tension between the United States and Saudi Arabia. And we're like, whoopsie, we declassified the information. That was like such a such a huge aggressive move against Mohammed bin Salman. And Biden is refusing to even talk to Mohammed bin Salman. He's talking to his father instead, right? They're like, he's not even recognizing him as authority. They're signaling to the Saudi regimes that maybe pick a different leader, like reducing his that's huge. That's a very clever behind the scene ways of trying to like signal to all the powers at be in Saudi Arabia that it would be easier for United States to work with Saudi Arabia if this guy wasn't in charge. That's like a chess move. That's a beautiful chess move, not talking to MBS and talking to his father instead. But people are like, oh, well, you said that it was MBS that killed Khashoggi, so why are you not putting him on full sanctions? Really? Really? You want to like cut out, like put MBS? Like, oh God, these are we're dealing with children.
Like, put your daddy on the phone.
No, but that's a really clever move against Saudi Arabia. Like, do you know, like that would be the. I'm gonna cover this with another live stream. Like putting it, like sanctioning the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, which is supposed to be a United States main ally, one of the United States main ally in the region. Like they are taking the moves that they have made against Saudi Arabia has been very aggressive. And for people to think like it hasn't been aggressive enough, they are very naive about what is possible, right? And how much it could be like. Imagine what it means to the entire Saudi regime if you put their crown prince on a sanction list. The guy that's supposed to be the king. Like you're basically cutting into complete ties with Saudi Arabia. Okay, I think the move so far that that Biden administration has taken against Saudi Arabia has been very clever and very aggressive, and more aggressive than I thought he would have got. Right. It's so good. And even though, here's the thing, I am very against the Saudi regime. But if any aggressions by the Houthis or by Iran's regime on Saudi soil needs to be defended by United States, needs to step in and defend their allies against any Iranian aggression. Okay? That even as somebody that thinks the Saudi regime is one of the worst regimes, second only to North Korea, I still think like if you have an ally in the region, you need to, Biden. It's good that Biden is making all these moves against Saudi Arabia while saying that we will be there to defend our allies if somebody attacks our allies. It's a very good. It has been a very nuanced, very clever give and take so far. I don't know where it's going to go from here. Okay,
They're
with
kind of
China,
they're kind of taking like a boil the frog approach.
yeah.
You know
You know what? I think that Biden's administration is maybe just a lot better than the way Biden talks. Maybe I'm hoping that what Biden said here is not a representative of what Blinken and the rest of his administration is doing behind the scenes, right? Because what Blinken has been saying sounds pretty good when it comes to China so far, right? So we'll see. But we're here but fuck Biden anyways for saying that, okay? And you know what? You know who else should be offended by what Biden said?
Oh, Chinese people.
Chinese people.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's the first thing I thought.
Yeah, if I was Chinese and he said like, we have our values, they have their values. If I was Chinese, I would be like,
oh my God.
Are you saying that your American values is to stand for human rights and Chinese values is to do genocide? Like, is this is the Chinese way, apparently? Like, did you do genocide? What do you expect? Like, if I was Chinese, I would be offended right now. Anyways.
Well, you were talking about Blinken's comments on the situation. So I think he reflects like some of what I was talking about earlier, which is like, we have to make very calculated decisions. We can't cut China out completely. So just to recap here some of his statements. Blinken thinks that the U.S. can deal with such a regime even as it carries out an extermination of one of the ethnic minority groups under its control. He told NPR's Mary Louise Kelly yesterday, and this was like early in February, quote, "This has been a challenge for American administrations going back decades and decades, and we have to be able to find ways to do both." Kelly then asked if the U.S. should boycott the 2022 Beijing Olympics. Blinken emphasized the need to prevent the importations of goods produced by Xinjiang forced labor system. Quote, but we have to be able to do multiple things at the same time, he said, pointing to Russia to show that Washington can cut deals with the regime it simultaneously condemns, and apparently echoing Biden's recent pledge to, quote, work with Beijing when it's in America's interest to do so. But then this author makes a very good point that Putin has relentlessly targeted his political opponents with arbitrary detention and assassination. But the Chinese campaign to wipe out the Uyghurs amounts to an international emergency of a different category in a far larger scope. Despite the clear evidence, such as harrowing victim testimonies that these crimes are taking place, Beijing has recruited dozens of countries to endorse its actions as a benign counterterrorism campaign and executed a global disinformation campaign to dispute the allegations it faces. The Chinese leadership's grip on Xinjiang demonstrates a technological sophistication and a diplomatic savvy that has so far shielded it from facing international pushback. So can't the United States do multiple things at the same time when it comes to the Chinese Party's state's mass atrocities? Not if its priority is to turn Beijing into an international pariah, rather than champion of multilateral action on climate change and global public health. So the Biden administration pledged to turbocharge the international response to the Uyghur crisis in a way that the previous one, due to its constant needling of U.S. allies, couldn't. But Biden and Blinken can't claim to do that if their rhetoric about cooperation with the world's most influential perpetrator of genocide doesn't match the urgency with which they must act, and if Biden keeps flubbing questions with such clear answers.
Yeah, maybe Biden should just stop talking and let his people do their work.
Well, and I just wanted to highlight this part really quickly because someone's asking, like, where are the Muslim countries on this subject? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That's a whole different story. Yeah. So basically, China has gotten them to endorse their actions.
Right. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's what I would do if I wanted to show that there's going to be consequences for China's human rights violations. Okay. if I was in power, this is what I would do. And I'm doing this with very little information, without doing a lot of research, and without having a team of experts that could advise me at the moment's notice, and with the best reports and the best intelligence agencies. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt. Okay, just coming out like just whipping it out, right? Because so it might not be very good, right? But I would be saying that one way we could pressure China, one of the many ways, is to move aggressively with making trade agreements with China's competitors in the region and beyond, right? I would like very, very, very ease all barriers, all taxes, everything. I would try to come up with a version of NAFTA with Vietnam's, Philippines, and all the, what basically what Obama was trying to do.
Well, what about India?
India, yes. Okay, that was great. Yes, India, especially India. Yeah,
but we got our boy Modi over there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, like we could like you could if you have bigger trade agreements with Modi, you could pressure them more for their human rights violations as well. Okay. Also, as much as we complain about India's human rights violations, it's nothing compared to China's human rights violation. But like Vietnam, such a success story, right? So the thing is with U.S. corporations, the government can't like tell them to stop dealing with China and working with like, I don't know, countries like Vietnam. Okay. The problem, but they could incentivize them because it's a free country and all. Like, it's not like China, like, hey, stop working with China. Like, you have Disney and you have like Nike and all of these. They're going to keep working with China, right? But if you, instead of like maybe doing a trade war with China, okay, just make it easier for all these corporations to, I mean, they have to be fair. Like, Vietnam is stealing right now a lot of business from China. Okay, so that's good. But come out and say, as a government, that we see this shift. We see this shift to countries like Vietnam, and we like it. We like it. And as a government, we're going to, given what China has done, instead of doing a trade war with China, we want to make it easier for U.S. corporations to work with countries like Vietnam, right? And make trade agreements with countries like look, Vietnam has a better human rights record, and we like the shift that is happening. And as a government, we want to encourage that. I don't know, maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm coming up. I don't know if that's a good idea because I didn't do research on this. I'm just making stuff up right now. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it's not a good idea.
Fixed it.
Yeah, fix it. Okay. Any other world problems you want me to fix?
Yeah. What next, India? And to answer your question that you said earlier. So when was this written? So as of today, 8 days ago, Canada became the second country to recognize the Uyghur
8 days ago. Okay, this is thanks to the Trump administration.
Only 3 days later, the Netherlands became the third.
Okay, so this is probably one of the few things we could thank the Trump administration.
Well, that's not what this analysis is saying. Quote, perhaps the political support for those votes would have been there without the Trump administration's 11th hour designation of Beijing's anti-Uyghur campaign as a genocide in January. But it's increasingly clear that decision reportedly made by the then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo over the objections of the career officials on his legal team, and later endorsed by his successor, Antony Blinken, has made all the difference in spurring more international action.
So it probably had an effect. We don't know for sure, but it seems like it had.
Yeah. So, this whole thing with Mike Pompeo is very interesting. I mean, this is a whole different.
By the way, fuck Mike Pompeo. Like, just let's be clear.
Can I finish, please?
No, I just have to say. Fuck
Armin, come on.
All right, go ahead.
There are people who are saying a lot of his, like, this came, like they said, 11th hour designation on the last day. Then there was the designation of the Houthis as a terrorist organization. I was reading something and it was really interesting. This analyst was talking about how people are speculating that this is him trying to set up his record for a presidential run.
Yes, we said that already before on another live stream.
No, you didn't say presidential. You're just saying.
I said his political for his political ambitions in the future.
Yes, but
right.
I thought that I hadn't heard about a presidential campaign, so that was.
I heard about him. I didn't believe it. I didn't know if it was true. That's why I specifically said I know he had political ambitions for doing all that crap. Some people said he might want to run for president. I thought that was like, what? So I wasn't sure. So that's why when we covered this before, I said political ambitions instead. Yeah, but so can I now fuck Pompeo? Okay, because he did he went out and he right before he left out, he just did a whole bunch of things. Okay, he did like just wrecking ball on his way out. Okay,
drastic actions.
Yeah, and he did so many things, and just one of them maybe happened to be good. Okay, but almost
we like that one.
Yeah, we like that one. But everything else he did, especially like motherfucking selfish son of a bitch, made the world a horrible place for so many other people just because of his political ambitions, and he didn't give a shit about any of that, right? Like that virtue signaling by designating the Houthis as a terrorist group, making it every fucking expert telling you that is going to make it impossible for all these human rights organizations to get aid and food to children that are dying and the medicine that is needed to get there. And he knew that it seemed like it's going to be tough for Biden to undo that because the Houthis are garbage. It's a garbage group of people that are extremely anti-Semitic. So removing the terrorist designation from them would have looked really bad. But Biden came in and was like, you know what? We're going to remove this. People are telling us that this is bad for the people, for civilians on the ground. So kudos to the Biden administration for undoing that when that fucking garbage decision by Pompeo right from the beginning. So kudos to Biden for undoing that. Yeah, but yeah, maybe out of he took a giant shit over a lot of things on his way out, but maybe one of the things he did maybe ended up accidentally being good. I don't think Pompeo, given what he did with everything else, I don't think he's a person that gives a shit about human rights violations. So if this ended up making countries like Canada, push countries like Canada and Netherlands, you said?
Yes.
Push them to also recognize this as genocide, and maybe that's going to make it more difficult for Canada, especially Canada, which is really cozy with China. It's going to make it.
This article actually has a lot of really interesting analysis on Canada being soft on China, but we can't even get into that today. Because the lots of the it was the opposition parties that pushed for the designation of genocide from Canada, and they were highlighting Trudeau's failure and the Liberal government's failure to call out the quote-unquote horrible conduct.
Anyways, okay, we already went over
Trudeau and most of his government declined to show up for that vote.
Yep, yeah, I saw that. This is
cool.
This is one thing. This is one thing the conservatives. People say oh, this is just a conservatives' way of trying to make the liberals look bad in Canada.
Maybe they do look bad.
Maybe they
maybe they do look bad.
It's justified. Oh my god. Anyways, let's go. Any comments with me, Twilight, before we? No.
And you call yourself liberals?
Liberal. All right.
I spit on your name.
All right, yeah. Fuck Pompeo one more time, and fuck the CCP, and fuck Biden only today for specifically for doing cultural relativism. Yeah, fuck Biden today as well. Today, fuck Biden as well. Fuck Trump, fuck Biden today specifically, fuck Pompeo, and most of all, fuck
Well,
the CCP
and also Trudeau and
and Trudeau.
the liberal government.
Yes. All right. Bye, guys.